And welcome to the Fiqh section. We've just had mini Hussainis, and mashallah, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to see the journey of how a child participating in the Muharram activities, Arbaeen, it's developing through those, and inshallah pray that our children, future generations, are able to benefit from the activities of the elders and as role models to teach them really for participating in the activities. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that we teach through their ages, and it doesn't matter. It's the impact of an unborn child, of a child that's in the cradle. It really, there's no limit, an age limit to say that a child is too young to start their commemoration. Which then brings us on nicely to the topic we're going to have today. And we're going to speak to Sayyid Mohsin. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me once again. I'm very well, thank you. Good. And I hope you two are very well.
Alhamdulillah, very good.
So best of taqwa, inshallah.
Inshallah. And today's topic, we're going to speak about youth and Arbaeen. And really sharing on your experiences as prominent figures in our community of how to help parents instill the message of Imam Hussein, instill the message of Ahlul Bayt, and how best to go about it really. So what's your experience?
So from Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, if we start from the beginning, from a fiqh point of view, it is an obligation on every Muslim to teach, especially fiqh. It is wajib for elders to teach their youngest fiqh. And on top of that, to teach them the lessons of Islam, whether it's theology, history, Quranic sciences, to teach. This is very, very highly recommended, and it is a must that our youth are involved in Islamic education and are continuously learning, and at the same time they are continuously teaching as well and passing on that knowledge to the next generation. Now, when it comes to Arbaeen, this is a perfect opportunity for youth to get involved, to learn, and also to give back to their communities and give back to the younger ones. For example, in our mosque we should be seeing 14, 15, 16-year-olds teaching young 10, 12-year-olds fiqh. And we should be seeing elders in the community who are of the age of their late 30s and 40s teaching young adults, the very intrinsic, special secrets of theology and understanding of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also the understanding of the status of Rasulullah, and also the Ahlul Bayt. This needs to continue on, and Muharram is a fantastic platform for that to happen. And Arbaeen, where in Muharram, for those kids who may be too young for the majlis, and the majlis is too advanced for them, why not have a small creche or a playgroup where we can break down certain lessons taken from Abu Abdullah and certain lessons of Islam to teach them and to carry on.
Just to follow on from that as well, I mean, there's a lot of emphasis that parents put, as we've seen from the videos, in terms of mini Husseini. There's a lot of emphasis that parents put on preparation for Muharram and Ashura, and sometimes you feel like the gap between Ashura and Arbaeen, it may die down just a bit. Is there a way, to bring it up, or why is it that, for example, the major importance, because I've seen from when I go to Ziyara, you see the level of people that visit and the importance that is given for Muharram and Arbaeen. How comes that's not replicated back in our home countries, especially from a youth perspective?
I mean, it's a shame that for 10 days of Muharram it's packed, the majlis is packed, you can't even find, you've heard it so many times, can everyone please stand up and move forward, please stand up, move forward. And then, there's always a question and answer after Ashura, and it's like half the hall is empty. Where have the people gone? Let's not take away that, alhamdulillah, that they were there for the 10 days, that they did attend the 10 days and went to pay their respects to Abu Abdullah, and they benefited. But Muharram doesn't finish on Ashura. The message of Abu Abdullah doesn't finish on Ashura, and it continues, and then it continues all year round. And I think it's very important that we continue to have good programs with good speakers. And
do you think that part of the reason that you've said about that after 10 days Q&A sessions are quiet, people have got their spiritual boost and they are now resuming back into what commemorating is it's heavy to go through, isn't it? The whole crying process. But then afterwards, in the sessions that you're saying in the year, obviously connection to Ahl Bayt is a continuous journey. It's not just year on year, it's actually throughout our lifetime. But do you think we are connected with keeping our content up to date with how we're going to respond with the youth and have that connection? Because how we were taught will be different from when you were taught, from when the children will be taught in the future generations. So are we keeping up to date with?
Exactly. I mean, it's really harsh to say this, but maybe some people feel obliged to go to Majlis in Muharram and they just want to turn up for 10 days and then, okay, I've done my bit, I'm going home now, please leave me alone for the rest of the year. Unfortunately, this is this attitude we really don't appreciate. However, we still work with people like that inshallah one year they will come in and maybe their heart will change and that we will be able to see them more often. And we have the 10 days of Muharram, the 10 majalis, and then it's very important to keep going, because when you have the 10 days, the community and the crowd, they form like a rapport with the speaker, and they form this connection that together we've been through this emotional roller coaster of
even with each other in a crowd.
Exactly.
You're sitting with similar people,
and it's a shame that it ends in 10 days. Why not continue? Why not ask the speaker to stay a bit longer and have him do another 2 or 3 majalis every week until the end of Arbaeen to keep the people coming in. That, okay, we're not going to carry on every day, but on Friday, Saturday, Sunday we'll have a majlis. Please attend and we can carry on the topic.
Because just by you saying that alone, it sparked the memory of some of the youth groups that start up actually before Muharram, and their main launch is Muharram. But once they find, because a lot of the youth, they're interested in the 10 days because it's just either it's the miracle of Imam Hussein salam, or generally their friends are going to be in this place so they want to be there. But you see a great buzz when it comes to Muharram and the brotherhood that they built. As soon as it hits the 11th of Muharram, all of those commitments are just down the drain. No one really does anything after that, and it really does die down. And then the next program that they've planned is for Arbaeen, but by the time Muharram finishes and Arbaeen starts, it's been a long time. So you're right in a sense. You need to have that momentum going. But how do we keep that momentum going? It's difficult because you need to keep the interest of the youth.
Indeed. And
when we were saying making those the speakers, having that relationship with the youth is very important.
But do we have speakers? I mean, I know there's some very good ones online, and we have a good content in London. We're very lucky, but are they connected in the real world with the youth issues that they actually go through in the real world? Not in what we perceive as our community. Say, oh no, nothing's wrong. There are real issues that our
definitely
youth face.
I mean, I would like to assume that the issues are the same, regardless of the generation, whether it's to do with identity and fitting into a crowd, whether it's to do with observing Islamic, rituals and law within lifestyle. For example, can I shake women's hands or not at work and things like that. Whether it's to do with narcotics or alcohol abuse, or even worse than that, like being bullied or depression. I would like to assume that these are the reoccurring social issues that are happening in the community that we can address. But it seems that with every new generation, there's something new coming.
But
and
don't forget,
that we have to go and research, and we have to address.
But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But don't you think that this generation, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, don't treat the generations as yourselves, because each generation is different.
Yes.
So with this generation in particular, they have a much more emphasis of enjoyment. This is how we are in the West. Enjoy your lives. You're living once, and so, whereas Islam, where some children will say, well, you're always commemorating, you're always crying. How about in the year that do we need to change the way we actually bring them into the centres and sort of involve them into a community?
Indeed, we need to change our approach. We need to be able to listen, and we really need to get involved in how teachers teach these children and the different methodologies. Now, back in my day, it used to be a blackboard with a chalk, and then it became a whiteboard with a pen. Apparently now it's with the computers.
Is it really? I haven't noticed.
Exactly, we haven't seen school in a long time. Yeah. But apparently now it's what they call an interactive board.
Really?
So,
they're getting with the times.
Exactly.
We should do as well.
The methodology of teaching has to be reassessed and reintroduced, and then we need to implement that into our communities. For example, if children are learning on iPads and they have games and apps on iPads where they're learning from, we need to start developing Islamic games and apps for the children to learn from, whether it be Arabic or Quran or whatever. We need to keep up with the times, and the most effective way of teaching children, this has to be done in our communities.
It's really difficult because you feel like when you're growing up, your parents or the elders didn't understand you, and then you're growing up thinking there's a bit of resentment when it comes to the community leaders not really adhering to what you find important, what your likes are, what your experiences are, and then we kind of fall into the right trap. Now myself personally, I'm of the age where I'm seen as the elders in the community to the youngsters. But am I doing the same thing that I said I would never ever do? And we kind of fall into that spiral. But how do we realize that we're doing exactly what our parents did? Do we realize? Do we don't?
And also I think in your beginning you were saying about the different elements that we have to instill in our children, the spiritual, the education, and when you hear that list in itself, it's overwhelming because there's so much to teach a child. It's not the morals, etiquettes, theology, everything has to be, and it's not just a parental duty to do that. You need to tap into the resources in the community because it could be the speakers that are helping, it may be community leaders that are helping your child nurture them wholesomely, because that list in itself, how are parents expected in this day and age where we're sort of all working, we're doing this, we're doing that?
Definitely, it's just very extremely difficult, and I think this is why it's so important that each centre has some sort of think tank, or some, where they will get some experts in, those who are involved in education, those who are involved in the social side of the community. I had to sit down and say, right, these are our objectives. How do we get to them?
Do you know something? In business models, they say get your user in, and and I think here it's getting the youth in,
focus
saying
group,
what do you want from these centres? Help develop those. Don't knock the youth back because they're children. We don't need to hear from them. If we're trying to gear them, we'll lose a generation. We could do if we don't.
Indeed, and I think what better time there is than Arbaeen, where you've just had 10 days of bonding, and like you said, like a brotherhood of people, and a sisterhood. Let's not forget the ladies are there as well, and they're just as important. So you've bonded together, and you've got some sort of inspiration and motivation. And why not take the next 40 days
to really cement that?
To like materialize and take that energy and actually come up with, let's improve our community. Let's start learning and let's start teaching, and let's get this going, this cycle going, so that the message of Abba Abdullah doesn't die, and that we can keep that momentum.
I think even I was just thinking as you were talking, even a child who's under 1 year old, to have a space for them, let them just connect to a centre that's a place of where I can learn, I can have fun. But it's not just a community centre where I'm going to go watch everyone else cry. It's about really looking forward.
On that is, if you ask a lot of the youth that are in the late teens now, why'd you come to the mosque? Have you got a list of complaints? They'll have a list of complaints, but why'd you keep coming back then? I've got good memories. A lot of them used to come as youngsters, and they used to see their friends there, and they used to play, and they used to talk, and so much. And that's why they keep coming back, to make sure that they have fond memories of their centre. They have fond memories of Muharram and Arbaeen, and that's what keeps them coming back. They recognise the errors, and we're trying to do something, and inshallah we'll get the right recipe one day. But it's very important, like you said, that when they're young, to have space for them, that you lot of 5-year-olds, go play, come to the mosque and play, here's some toys.
And it's really fascinating because most of the kids from the age 1, 2, 3 up until the age of 15, they don't really care much about what's going on. They'll copy our parents. They'll copy what we do in terms of the matam and the crying and stuff like that. Whether they understand it or not, that for me personally, that's not my main concern. My main concern is that they grow up in an environment, in an institution that feeds into their psyche, into their memory, into their experiences, because those experiences will cement the way they see life and the way they see religious views. So when they get to an age when they say, okay, now they begin to ask questions, we're going to be there ready, available to answer those questions. But as long as it's cemented into their memory, and it's actually quite scientific, because when you're first born up until the age of about 6 or 7, every experience that you gain becomes part and parcel of the connections within your brain. And then once you reach the age of 18, 19, 20, it becomes very hard for those views to to untangle. Like for example, why we say that reverts should be, you know, like revered in a sense, because they've grown up for 20, 30, 40, 50 years of one specific lifestyle. Their worldview is in a specific way. For them to go back to their memories, to their, I think it's called synapses, and to untangle the hardware that they've cemented,
and
it's very, very difficult.
Rearrange.
So we want our kids to have those wired connections entrenched within the love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, so that when they reach the ages of 20, 25, it's not wavering. Their love is still cemented. But as you said very perfectly, we want them to come and enjoy themselves in the beginning. It's not about stuffing religion down their throats from a young age. It's all about them just expressing themselves, let them enjoy themselves and play and whatever it may be. And then there's a time for, you know,
I think the way you can teach children through love, and obviously discipline as well, is very important, because I think, you know, of so many people you speak to, and their memories maybe, yes, we went to the mosque, we got told off, and those are responsibility of the adults to actually look at these children as the future, and not to say they're a burden, or why are you here making noise. The elders need to hear, well, the elders have already cemented their, you know, their links, but it's about the children developing them in the future.
And I think unfortunately children are sometimes, and the youth are neglected in these centres, and because, you know, we're getting into politics here, but like, you know, like those who donate are expecting something, you know, of their level, and something to relate to them, and not the youth who have done nothing in forms of contribution. But then the youth have so much to contribute. If it's not wealth, it's definitely in ideas and in you know,
and they're the future.
Programs and workshops, and a new methodology and a new way and a new, you know, style of revamping, you could say, and rebranding the centre.
I think we always need to remember the youth are the future, and we have to invest in that future. So we've run out of time
for ages. I know that we can talk about this for a very, very long time, but
definitely,
as Zahra was saying, you know, we've run out of time.
Thank you so much. That's very informative, and I hope the viewers have been able to gain some insight and, you know, knowledge, and perhaps we can all go forward, brainstorm together.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, keep us in your du'as. Till next time.
Many thanks for your time, Sayyid. As Zahra said,
me.
and of course, just for the benefit of our viewers, we have brought to a close this morning's session of Morning Baraka, and inshallah we will see you in the next couple of episodes, or the next episode actually, where again we'll be taking a deep dive into the jurisprudential context of Muharram and Safar, namely Ashura and Arbaeen, and seeing the spiritual benefits and what the jurisprudence will say is the recommended acts and the acts that we should refrain from doing during these times. So for myself and Zahra, thank you so much for your time, and inshallah we will see you in the next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.